My last question for you is when you guys were doing the filming for Shark Tank, I think you recently did that over the last few months. What's the conversation behind closed doors? You, Mark, Lori, Barbara, Robert, the whole crew. What are most people saying about this? Are they all as bullish as you are, or there's still some skepticism among that crowd? And I use them as a proxy for most of kind of the average American. That is one of their biggest sources of kind of business content is watching Shark Tank. So what's the thought process of your co-host?
Well, we don't do crypto deals on Shark Tank or marijuana. I mean, we can't do those because of regulatory reasons. And we're also very, very sensitive to the regulator for obvious reasons it's a network owned by Disney, et cetera. But behind closed doors, Mark and I are very, very active in crypto. You know who Cuban is. We share notes on NFTs. I'm intrigued by that whole business, and I'm very active in that. I've invested in WonderFi, which is decentralized finance. They're bringing their app in the next few weeks. The company just raised another 20 million yesterday. Also in Jordan Freed's business, the platform called Immutable Holdings. He owns NFT.com. He's setting up profiles for most of the S&P 500 brands. I'm working with him on the watch industry, for example. I own a piece of that company too. I look at all these. I look at this stuff. Probably of the sharks, two out of us are allocating portfolios to it. The others not so much yet, but they're very interested. They're more traditional in how they deploy capital. But I don't know how you can ignore it anymore, given the pressures that you started this conversation with around inflation and decentralized finance, the productivity it can provide to the economy. You just can't ignore it. And I understand the regulatory cloud. I get it. But I don't think even the regulators want to abandon the promise that crypto has for the American economy. It just has to be rules-based, and they'll get there eventually, even if it takes time. That's where we're at.
So the sharks that are not yet allocating, is this basically a question around regulatory, or is it they're not yet convinced, or what is kind of the biggest critique or the biggest obstacle that you see turning them from not being allocated to actually getting allocated?
Primarily regulatory. I mean, without naming any specific shark, they all have big brands. They all support all kinds of companies. Some of them have their own products, goods, and services around their name. And it's the same reason that they don't get involved in the cannabis market. It's a Schedule I regulated narcotic in multiple states, and yet it's legal in others. But they have to be compliant, and so they all have advisors. And it's like I said earlier. I had to fight my auditors. I had to say no, you don't get it. And they say we get it, and the answer is no. And so it takes a fair amount of energy to pursue this when all the advisors around you are saying no and won't even support you. I mean, that's really the truth about what crypto is now. It's a growing. It was a baby 5 years ago. Now it's a teenager, and it's nasty because it's not stopping. It's going to keep going, and it's going to be an adult soon. And those teenage years are a bitch. That's the problem.
I know you well enough that all you need to do is when you talk to the other sharks, say, listen, I believe in it so much I got my own dough in it. And when you say that, they'll obviously understand that if you're comfortable, they should be.
They know. And everybody's interested to see what my holdings are. I get that every day. You know what I'm really worried about, Pomp? I don't want to be one of these guys that, gets some obscure token or coin and promotes it and, all that stuff. I don't want to be seen that way. I'm being very careful to make these long-term investments because I believe in the best way to look at this, and I tell people this that really grill me on crypto, and particularly when you keep floating that video of us together on CNBC, on Twitter, and I get abused over and over again. I'm never going to forgive you for that. I'm going to figure a way to get you back. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out. But what I tell them is, look, do you invest in Google? Do you invest in Microsoft? Those are big holdings for me. They are software companies. When you invest in crypto and the blockchain, and the level 1 and level 2 ideas out there, and a lot of these tokens and a lot of these shared ledgers, you're investing in software. Why would you invest in Microsoft and not in the chain? Why? Why wouldn't you? And they said, well, I never thought of it that way. Well, think about it that way, because that's what it is. You're just adding to your software productivity portfolio. Now, I get it, it's controversial and all the rest of it, but the innovation that's occurring by these developers, the hottest hands on the keyboard are now in crypto. The smartest guys are doing this work. And you're getting, engineers are leaving traditional productivity software like crazy to go into crypto, whether it's a startup or work with a behemoth or whatever it is, because the productivity opportunities there are greater than anything else we have in software. And so, I just gave you the use case for watches. It's for every asset class. It's all coming, but it's all software.
So the politicians that say shadowy supercoders, Kevin says the hottest hands are on the keyboard. I like that. That's a much better way to put it, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, politicians have to make press. They're constantly raising capital for their own campaigns. I understand the pressure they're under. Nothing gets you more press. The two ways to get press these days is beat up Facebook, which always works. It gets you on the hill, which is ludicrous because they're the backbone of small business in America, and talk about crypto as being used for crime. That's going to get you a lot of headlines. That's going to help you raise a lot of money. It's never going to stop. But that's not what crypto is about anymore. Decentralized finance is going to be very disruptive, very powerful, very productive. It's going to eliminate a lot of fees, and it's going to make life a lot easier for everybody. Like me, when I talked about trying to buy and sell European stocks in multiple currencies. I mean, why wouldn't I invest in that?